Ma'ab, well, Wemefes Kadus, Ahadu Amlak. Bessa Ma'ab, well, Wemefes Kadus, Ahadu Amlak. Bessa Ma'ab, well, Wemefes Kadus, Ahadu Amlak. Amen. Yes, blessed love, good morning. I've got out of my car, back into the home office, and on with Genesis chapter 7, reading the Ethiopian Bible a chapter a day. Give thanks. And it comes to pass that Isaac is aged, and his eyes are too dim for seeing. And he calls for his older son, Esau, and says to him, My son. And he says, Here I am. And he says, Now behold, I have become aged, and I have not known the day of my death. And now please take up your instruments, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt provision for me, and make tasteful things for me, such as I have loved, and bring them to me, and I eat, so that my soul blesses you before I die. And Rebekah is listening while Isaac is speaking to his son Esau. And Esau goes to the field to hunt game to bring in. And Rebekah has spoken to her son Jacob, saying, Behold, I have heard your father speaking to your brother Esau, saying, Bring game for me, to make tasteful things for me, and I eat, and bless you before Yahweh, before my death. Now, my son, listen to my voice, to that which I am commanding you. Now go to the flock, and take for me 2 good kids of the goats from there, and I make them tasteful things for your father, such as he has loved. And you have taken them to your father, and he has eaten, so that his soul blesses you before his death. And Jacob says to his mother Rebekah, Behold, my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. It may be my father feels me, and I have been in his eyes as a deceiver, and have brought on disapproval upon me, not a blessing. And his mother says to him, Oh me, your disapproval, on me your disapproval, my son. Only listen to my voice, and go, take for me. And he goes and takes and brings to his mother, and his mother makes tasteful things, such as his father had loved. And Rebekah takes the zarbal garments of Esau, her elder son, which are with her in the house, and puts them onto Jacob, her youngest son. And she has put the skins of the kids of the goats on his hands, and on the smooth of his neck. And she gives the tasteful things and the bread which she has made into the hand of her son Jacob. And he comes to his father and says, My father. And he says, Here I am. Who are you, my son? And Jacob says to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn, and I have done as you have spoken to me. Please rise, sit, and eat of my game, so that your soul blesses me. And Isaac says to his son, What is this you have hurried to find, my son? And he says, That which your God Yahweh has caused to come before me. And Isaac says to Jacob, Please come near, and I feel you, my son, whether you are really my son Esau or not. And Jacob comes near to his father Isaac, and he feels him and says, The voice is the voice of Jacob, and his hands are the sons of Esau. He has not discerned him, for his hands have been hairy, and the hands of his brother Esau. And he blesses him and says, You are he, my son Esau? And he says, I am. And he says, Bring it near to me, and I eat of my son's game, so that my soul blesses you. And he brings it near to him, and he eats, and he brings wine to him, and he drinks. And his father Isaac says to him, Please come near and kiss me, my son. And he comes near and kisses him. And he smells the fragrance of the garments and blesses him and says, See, the fragrance of my son is as the fragrance of the field which Yahweh has blessed. And God gives to you of the dew of the heavens, and of the fatness of the earth, and the abundance of the grain and wine. People serve you, and nations bow themselves before you. Be mighty over your brothers, and the sons of your mother bow themselves to you. Those who curse you, you are cursed, and those who bless you are blessed. And it comes to pass that as Isaac has finished blessing Jacob, and Jacob is only just going out from the presence of his father Isaac, that his brother Esau has come in from his hunting. And he also makes tasteful things and brings to his father, and says to his father, let my father arise and eat of my son, your son's game, so that your soul blesses me. And his father Isaac says to him, who are you? And he says, I am your son, your firstborn Esau. And Isaac trembles with a great trembling and says, who now is he who has provided game and brings to me? And I eat of all before you coming in, and I bless him. Indeed, he is blessed. When Esau hears the words of his father, then he cries a very great and bitter cry and says to his father, bless me also, O my father. And he says, your brother has come with subtlety and takes your blessing. And he says, is it because he whose name is called Jacob takes me by the heel these 2 times? He has taken my birthright, and behold, now he is taking my blessing. And he also says, have you not kept back a blessing for me? And Isaac answers and says to Esau, behold, a mighty one have I set him over you, and all his brothers have I given to him for servants, and with grain and wine, and I have sustained him. And for you now, what will I do, my son? And Esau says to his brother, one blessing have you, my father? Bless me also, my father. And Esau lifts up his voice and weeps. And his father Isaac answers and says to him, behold, of the fatness of the earth is your dwelling, and of the dew of the heavens from above. And by your sword you live, and your brother serves you. And it has come to pass when you rule, you have broken his yoke from off your neck. And Esau hates Jacob because of the blessing with which his father has blessed him. And Esau says in his heart, the days of mourning for my father draw near, and I will slay my brother Jacob. And the words of Esau, her older son, are declared to Rebekah. And she sends and calls for Jacob, her younger son, and says to him, behold, your brother Esau is comforting himself in regard to you, to slay you. And now, my son, listen to my voice, and rise and flee for yourself to my brother Laban, to Haran, and you have dwelt with him some days, until your brother's fury turns back, until your brother's anger turns back from you, and he has forgotten that which you have done to him, and I have sent and taken you from there. Why am I bereaved even of you both the same day? And Rebekah says to Isaac, I have been disgusted with my life because of the presence of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob takes a wife of the daughters of Heth like these from the daughters of the land, why do I live? Blessed love, give thanks for this reading. Yeah, that's a really interesting chapter. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in there. I hope you're able to follow the story. When you're reading it out loud, it's sometimes hard to follow the story. But we're seeing this favoritism between these brothers, Jacob and Esau, with Rebekah, the mother, favoring Jacob, and Isaac, the father, favoring Esau. Now, if you remember in a previous chapter, God did say to Rebekah that the elder should serve the younger, which means that Jacob is actually the one going to inherit the earth. So as the older brother Esau, Isaac was saying that he's going to bless Esau. So he says, go out, get some hunt, get some game, get some, animal meat, bring it back and I'll bless you. And then Rebecca hears that, tells Jacob to go and do the same. And she dresses up Jacob and put hairs on his hands, on his neck to make him smell and feel like Esau, and fools Isaac. And then Isaac blesses Jacob instead of Esau. And then they find out the deception, and but Jacob has the blessing and it can't be taken back. And it's interesting that I spoke about blessing yesterday and that difficult idea of being blessed by God. I didn't even anticipate this happening in this narrative, because once Jacob's been blessed, it can't be taken back. The verbal blessing is such that it's binding. So the Esau says, "Have you got a blessing for me?" And then the blessing that Isaac gives to Esau as a lesser blessing, and basically says, you're going to be in conflict with your brother Jacob. And, I'm sure we're going to see that play out over time. So I think there's some it's complicated, because on one hand it's a warning. It feels like it's a warning against parental favoritism of children, and how that can cause conflict and over generations and generations and just make things worse. But at the same time, even though it's through deception, it still heeded God's promise to Rebecca that it was going to be Jacob rather than Esau that would get the full blessing. So that promise was told to Rebecca. It wasn't told to Isaac, which is really interesting. So even though Isaac is the patriarch, it was actually Rebecca that fulfilled God's promise. But again, this is the complicated thing. That promise had to be done through deception. So it kind of, yeah, I don't know if there's a message here about God's plan will be fulfilled regardless of human deception, human kind of interaction and will and agency. That God's plan is going to find its way through that, no matter what we try and do as humans to manipulate situations and to manipulate life. That what happens for a reason, I guess. That's a kind of a mantra that I often subscribe to, and I think a lot of people subscribe to. It's about being philosophical when things happen in life, and just understanding there is a path through it, and light shines through the cracks, if you like. So, and I think that's one of the messages possibly here, that things do happen for a reason, and even if we don't understand them now, there'll be a greater understanding later down the line. And I'm sure there's many, many, many other lessons and meanings I could take from this, or that you could take from this. But in this short time, that's my immediate, I guess, response and understanding of the chapter. But it is complicated, even through moral deception, God's promise is shining through. So it shows the imperfection of humans, but it also shows that, I guess, God's logic isn't always the logic of humans. Do you know what I mean? There's a different logic at play, which we don't understand, but we have to trust and hold in faith, as we saw yesterday with Abraham as well. So I'll leave it there. Blessed love, yet a Barak for cure. Have a blessed day, and God willing, we'll be back tomorrow for chapter 28. Give thanks.